A life in the royal family is one of duty, of service, and of privilege. But of many things that are important to Harry, freedom is at the very top.
I think it's probably very difficult being the second son because the attention is very much focused on the eldest child, as it was with William. I mean, Diana made a very conscious effort not to allow that to happen, but of course it did. Harry became important by, you know, being this big character, being this brave boy.
Harry's childhood is one filled with love and with tragedy. It is one that growing up means to make choices, and to make choices means to face consequences.
Harry and Meghan said they wanted a private life. If you want a private life, you don't speak out in public. And what they want to do is they want to change the world.
Harry has experienced more of a life well lived, more of a life of what he wanted, rather than a life everyone wanted for him. This is Prince Harry, Bridge over Troubled Water. Prince Harry is an influential man. This comes from his mother, Lady Diana Spencer, who instilled in Harry and William the world of the less fortunate, as opposed to the world of glamour.
It's almost impossible to describe to a stranger or someone who's never met Princess Diana what she was really like. What I usually say is she was as beautiful inside as she was out. But to meet her was something special. She lit up a room. She stopped traffic. And when she entered into a room, everything stopped. And all eyes were on her. I've never met another human being who had that aura, who had that charisma, the same as Princess Diana.
Diana as a person was about as normal as you're going to get. She was very considerate, always wanted to know people's birthdays. She dined regularly in London with her friends and enjoyed that. Always enjoyed, you know, a joke. Always say to me, oh my God, have you heard any new jokes, so forth, whatever it was. So in that sense, yeah, she was normal, but she was incredibly considerate.
Is there any possibility of any announcement of your marriage in the near future? Can you tell me? Can you tell me if there's any possibility?
I'm not going to say anything, brave.
Right, but Prince Charles did give us a hint himself. He said we wouldn't have to wait too long.
Just as Charles fell immediately in love with Princess Diana, or Lady Diana Spencer as she was at the time, so too did Britain. We hadn't seen the likes of a future princess like this for many, many years, and Diana was just a stunner. The innocence about her, you just thought, wow, this girl is knockout. So there was a huge interest from the moment the engagement happened. Everyone watched the engagement footage. Everyone around the world pretty much tuned into the royal wedding.
Here is the stuff of which fairy tales are made. The prince and princess on their wedding day.
On July 29, 1981, Lady Diana married Prince Charles and became Her Royal Highness the Princess of Wales. Together they had 2 children, William, born in 1982, and Harry, born in 1984.
The fairy tale dress, the golden carriage, the beautiful ceremony at St. Paul's, the blushing bride, the proud prince, it just ticked all the boxes. It was the fairy tale wedding. Or so we all thought.
Before the service, the immediate family were alone in the castle with just time enough for the Prince of Wales to explain the history of those celebrated robes.
This marriage was not built to last, and the two went on to divorce in 1996. Diana died in a car crash in 1997. The driver of the car, Henri Paul, lost control at high speed and struck the 13th column of l'Alma Tunnel in Paris. Diana died 4 hours later in hospital from extensive internal injuries. The two brothers' worlds have never been the same since. William was 15 when his mother died, and Harry was 12.
You had this period of several years where they were sleeping in separate bedrooms. Apparently, post-1986, they were leading rather separate lives, not just staying in different rooms, but on different floors of the palace, going on tours and not really speaking. Royal observers at the time saw them on a tour where they didn't speak, or on a boat, I think, where they didn't speak for 7 hours. So, living very separate lives. You've then got Charles going off and not only pursuing his own country interests and indeed his relationship with Camilla Parker Bowles, as it now turns out.
To anyone in the know, it was very obvious that the Wales's marriage was in real trouble by the late 80s, and inevitably the announcement was made by the then Prime Minister John Major that Diana and Charles were going to separate. Now, Diana knew that this was going to ricochet, and she made sure that the first people who found out that they were going to separate were William and Harry, and she actually made the drive to Ludgrove School herself to go and tell them. And Harry took it very badly, of course, being younger than William. He was incredibly upset. William was very stoic and said to his mother, well, if you're happier, if you're going to be happier, Mummy, then this is the right thing to do.
First, I want to pay tribute to Diana myself. She was an exceptional and gifted human being. In good times and bad, she never lost her capacity to smile and laugh, nor to inspire others with her warmth and kindness. I admired and respected her for her energy and commitment to others, and especially for her devotion to her 2 boys. This week at Balmoral, we have all been trying to help William and Harry come to terms with the devastating loss that they and the rest of us have suffered. No one who knew Diana will ever forget her. Millions of others who never met her, but felt they knew her, will remember her. I, for one, believe there are lessons to be drawn from her life and from the extraordinary and moving reaction to her death. I share in your determination to cherish her memory.
It was Charles who broke the news because William and Harry were at Balmoral, and so the duty of telling his sons fell to him, and it was a truly awful time for Charles. The realisation that his estranged wife had died, that he was going to have to raise his sons as a sole parent, and in the immediate future, how on earth was he going to break this unimaginably awful, tragic news to his sons? But he did, to William first and to Harry afterwards, and they did that together. William said to Charles, I need to be there when you tell Harry, and he was.
You know, I remember the day William and Harry came back to Kensington Palace after their mother died. I remember standing in the hallway and William walked in and shook my hand and asked me if I was all right. I said, I'm fine, thank you. Harry ran down the corridor, flung his arms around me and broke his heart. I still remember his tears wet my shirt through. He was broken-hearted.
William particularly took a lot of coaxing to walk behind his mother's coffin. It was something he didn't feel that he was going to be able to do. And it was in fact the Duke of Edinburgh who at the last minute said, you must do it because you'll regret it if you don't. And if you do it, I'll do it. Because the Duke of Edinburgh was never due to walk behind the coffin. So to give the boys strength, Philip did it. And it was an amazing thing for him to do as a grandfather. But I think certainly, without a doubt, for the boys, the hardest public duty, because it was so public for them, that they would ever have had to have carried out. And they were both so young. And the enormity of what had happened, the grief that they were coping with, I'm sure hadn't settled in by that point. But I think hearts broke around the world. People watched that funeral all over the globe when they saw the coffin passing and that little envelope on the top with a wreath of flowers with the word mummy, which had been handwritten by Harry.
Lady Diana Spencer was a woman who was a mother first and a princess second. Her boys were brought up incredibly close to their mother. It was important to Diana that they be raised under a normal upbringing rather than one that's under the royal lineage, whether that meant doing the school run or taking them to Alton Towers for a treat. This was not your typical royal motherhood. The first sign of this was at an overseas visit to Australia and New Zealand in 1983. Most royals would leave their children behind with a nanny, but Diana brought her only child William along with her at the time. After Harry's birth, Diana would try to reschedule her duties to give herself the longest time with her sons. This desire to be close to her children rather than leaving them behind was born out of her caring personality. Against established protocol, she took her sons to charity visits as well as restaurants, theme parks, local towns and shops. They watched TV shows and played video games together, despite all the negative feedback from within the royal household.
Diana was a good mother. There was a bank of nannies. There were about 3 nannies that did a shift system, that did all the sort of basic stuff, like giving them breakfast. But Diana was actually quite hands-on. Certainly, if she was in London, she would take them to school, and she would always try to be there at the end of the day, to be part of this sort of, mother image, which she was very keen on doing. They were constantly being reminded of how privileged they were and what life was like on the other side of royalty. So she was very keen to be a hands-on mother in that sense, both in the house and outside of it. And, I think that, when you look at William and Harry today, they're certainly more normal than perhaps, their father was at that age. I think that, on the whole, was attributable to Diana's motherhood, quite frankly.
Diana really broke the mold. When it came to parenting, she did things differently.
She loved to have fun. She loved to giggle. She loved to play practical jokes. And she loved nothing more than cuddling up with her 2 boys, watching TV and watching game shows and soap operas. And the boys were the center of her world. William, although he looks like his mother, is more like his father. He's studious, he's very careful, he's very respectful, he's duty-bound. Harry, on the other hand, is a hybrid of the Spencers' red hair and the Windsors, but he has his mother's naughty streak. Harry is the fun guy. Harry was always the boy that would take apart the television set. The video recorder, he would have in bits and want then to put it back together again. Harry was always the soldier, William was always the general.
I know from her stepmother, Reign Countess Spencer, that Diana had told to her that it was the most complete and compelling and fulfilling relationship of her life.
This shaped the generation of the royal family, one who did things very differently. She's said to have been the best at giving hugs. Harry has said that she would just engulf you and squeeze you as tight as possible, and you couldn't escape. He has grown to become extremely fond of his mother, and to this day expresses how much he misses her. He says that Diana was one of the naughtier parents, and that he misses the feeling of a mother to give you those hugs and that compassion that everyone needs. This has shaped Harry in later years to become just like his mother.
William and Harry are acutely aware of where things went wrong in the press in their early life. And there's an argument, quite a strong one, to suggest that the wheels so spectacularly fell off Diana's life and her public image, and how she was portrayed in the press and how she was pursued by journalists and photographers that contributed to her tragic demise.
The most daunting aspect was the media attention, because my husband and I, we were told when we got engaged that the media would go quietly, and it didn't. And then when we were married, they said it would go quietly, and it didn't. And then it started to focus very much on me. And I seemed to be on the front of a newspaper every single day, which is an isolating experience. And the higher the media place you, is the bigger the drop.
Friend and protector. She never once allowed her unfaltering love for us to go unspoken or undemonstrated. She will always be remembered for her amazing public work. But behind the media glare, to us, just two loving children, she was quite simply the best mother in the world.
Prince Harry was educated at Wetherby School, Ludgrove School, and Eton College.
Diana, she really didn't think Eton was right for Harry. He ended up getting a place and he ended up going and he ended up doing very well. But there was a serious thought at the time that perhaps Eton wasn't the right choice and maybe they would look at somewhere else. In the end, both boys went to Eton, and in doing so, they set a royal precedent.
He joined Sandhurst in 2005 as an officer cadet. He spent parts of his gap year in Australia and Lesotho, then underwent training at the Royal Military College, Sandhurst. He was commissioned as a cornet into the Blues and Royals, serving temporarily with his brother William, and completed training as a troop leader.
He was forever in his sort of khaki outfit, and it was clearly then destined for a career in the army.
Harry was a genuine believer in the military and always wanted to be a soldier from, I guess, from the age when he was able to know what a soldier was. Certainly when I met him, age 3, he was always in sort of khaki uniform, and he always wanted to be a soldier.
He also attended the Defence Helicopter Flying School at RAF Shawbury, joining his brother William, who was completing his training to be an RAF search and rescue pilot. In 2008, the British Ministry of Defence revealed that Harry had been secretly deployed to Helmand province in Afghanistan. There he operated as a forward air controller. He helped Gurkha troops repel an attack from Taliban insurgents and patrolled hostile territories.
But I know when my youngest son was out, as a parent, you worry the whole time.
I think the struggle that I was talking about was mainly the exams and stuff like that. When you sort of the helicopter course, you start with something like 4 or 5 weeks of ground school and exams. Exams never been my favourite, and I always knew that I was going to find it harder than most people. But I'm through that now, and finally got hands-on to a job that I absolutely adore. It is still hard work, but I'm better than William, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's not bad. You've been helping him with the exam? Yeah, an awful lot. He needs a lot of help. It's it's the RAF way, so you have to help the army out quite a lot.
Does it come down to sort of mental maths tests? Or?
Yeah, a bit of that, a few trick questions, try and catch him out.
7 8s?
Yeah, exactly, lots of that.
But how seriously is it for you? Is this fundamentally and crucially about getting back to the front line?
It is. I've always had a love for helicopters. I've always wanted to be a pilot, mainly of helicopters, more than fixed wing, even though I'm slightly under the impression that fixed wing is probably easier than helicopters, especially as these things aren't designed to fly. But I'm really enjoying it, and as everyone knows, it is my easiest way of getting back onto the front line, and maybe safer, maybe not safer, I don't know. But there's a bit of pressure from certain places, which I'm sure you're aware of the reasons why I'm allowed to go back, and if I do go back, then apparently I can't do the same job as I had, so I'm looking somewhere different and more of a challenge to try and become a helicopter pilot.
So was it made pretty clear to you after the last time in Afghanistan that it would be your first and last time, that it was too risky for you to go back as a soldier?
More the fact that I think the media had said that they would never keep their mouths shut if I went into the same job, so I'd have to do something different if I wanted to go, yes.
I have decided today that Prince Harry will not deploy as a troop leader with his squadron. I've come to this final decision following a further and wide round of consultation, including a visit to Iraq for myself at the end of last week. There have been a number of specific threats, some reported, some not reported, which relate directly to Prince Harry as an individual. These threats expose not only him, but also those around him to a degree of risk that I now deem unacceptable.
I did feel very much like, well, if I'm going to cause this much chaos to a lot of people, then maybe I should just, bow out, not just for my own sake, but for everybody else's sake. I would never want to put someone else's life in danger when they have to sit next to the bullet magnet.
You're a troop leader.
I wouldn't have joined the army unless I thought I was going to. Simple as that. If they said, no, you can't go front line, then I wouldn't drag my sorry ass through Sandhurst, and I wouldn't be where I am now.
Prince Harry served in the army for 10 years, rising to the rank of captain. He resigned in 2015. Much of Harry's time in the military contributed to a wide passion for charitable causes when he returned to royal duties. Harry has since been involved in several organisations, including the Invictus Games Foundation, Rugby Football Union Injured Players Foundation, Sentebale, the Royal Foundation, and Well Child.
I just said a big thank you for what they do, because without people like them being the patrons of things like the Invictus Games Foundation, we wouldn't get this chance and this opportunity, not necessarily to basically saving lives without knowing it.
And now it is my pleasure to introduce our guest of honor. Yeah, it's coming. You may have heard of him before. I've had the opportunity to spend some time with him over the years, and I've seen his commitment and his passion to this issue, and I'll tell you, it's real. He's a real life guy who cares about everyone in this room. To him, our wounded warriors aren't just a distant cause. To him, they're brothers and sisters in arms. They're the men and women he's served with. They're the heroes he has a genuine personal connection with. And he feels from the bottom of his heart that it is his job to serve them as well as they've served us.
I can only speak for the British public. They have basically invested in a group of individuals, a group of people, because they want to help. This is the result, as far as I'm concerned. This really is. You're going to see people that have lives have been changed by the way they've injured, and then they've been changed by the support they've had by the British public. Et voila, you have this. You have a group of individuals that are going to put on a wonderful sporting display, some of which have only had 2 months to practice.
Harry's recently realised how useful his position can be, how much he can do for good and charity, and causes close to his heart, like veterans, like conservation, and that's the way his role is in the future.
I've known those two boys, William and Harry, since they were born. I used to change their nappies. They used to call me Uncle Paul. I've always been there, and I've watched them grow. I'm very proud of them. They're lovely boys.
When my mother held the hand of a man dying of AIDS in an East London hospital, no one would have imagined that just over a quarter of a century later, treatment would exist that could see HIV-positive people live full, healthy, loving lives.
This passion drives off his mother's passion of dedicating herself to those in need. Diana offered comfort to those suffering through countless hospital visits.
Well, Jenny, I'm only trying to highlight a problem that's going on all around the world. That's all.
She was extremely passionate about homelessness, mental health, AIDS, cancer, and other illnesses. Her patronage and involvement with many charities has helped people all around the globe and has earned Diana a very special place in the hearts of the public. Harry and William want to continue their mother's legacy by keeping some of her most vital charity work alive. Harry worked in support of Queen Elizabeth and the royal family through his program of charitable work and public duties. However, he felt that balancing the two was something he knew he'd have to make a choice on soon.
I think it's probably very difficult being the second son, because you don't really have a defined role. You're just the joker in the pack. The attention is very much focused on the eldest child, as it was with William. I mean, Diana made a very conscious effort not to allow that to happen, but of course it did. Harry became important by, you know, being this big character, being this brave boy. So I think it does affect these kids.
I think when it comes to Prince Harry, it's obvious that there's huge affection between the two brothers. Even when he was very little, when he was 10, 11 years old, and he'd see the girls starting to scream because Prince William was coming along because he was that bit older and they could see he was very handsome. We're told Prince Harry would encourage the girls to scream and just because he knew it really embarrassed his brother. So he seems to be the more playful one, Prince Harry. And again, that would bear out what the Princess of Wales said in that Panorama interview about he's a more more of a Spencer wild child than William is. And we can see it, can't we, in the pictures we see and his antics and the kind of things he likes to do. But I also get the impression from the times we've seen the two together talking to one another and about one another and about that, because they've spoken about their closeness as brothers, that you get the feeling that Prince William, for all his understanding of the seriousness of his role in the future, you get the feeling that he makes it very clear that he needs his brother and he values that more, perhaps childlike, fun element that's in his life. Because whatever the Diana story is, whatever happened, it's just so sad that a really young mother didn't see her sons grow up. And it's just such a lovely legacy, I think, for any mother who's been lost to her children. Such a great legacy that they seem so close.
January 2005, I ran a story about Prince Harry, a picture that we got of Prince Harry going to a party, actually with William, and he was wearing a Nazi outfit. It created a huge stink. William's reaction to the Nazi story, when he had a chance to bend my ear about it, was very sweet, and it was a sort of the way I'd like my big brother to stick up for me if I'd been put in the papers and obviously something I'd done had upset people. So, yeah, I mean, there is something very special with William and Harry, that they are extremely close. And anything bad for Harry, William will stick up for him to the nth degree. And likewise, Harry's very protective of William and now Kate as well.
Harry is a party creature. He always will be. So obviously he's going to get caught out.
Prince Harry, I won't say dropped out of school, but he came very close to dropping out of Eton. He left with some rather appalling exam results. And there was a delay before he joined the army, which was really his only option. University wasn't on the table. In that period, I think Harry now, by his own admission, would say that he went through a very bad patch and got himself in all kinds of scrapes. The Nazi outfit being just one of quite a long list. Punching a photographer outside a nightclub was another. Harry learned a lot in that small period of time. And I don't think at that stage in his life anybody could have said anything to him that he would have taken notice of. But luckily he's grown up since then.
And then, of course, there's the notorious strip at Vegas, which was really, really wild. Every misdemeanor that Harry's had has sort of leaked out to the press because we all want to see Harry being Harry. The more family and children that William and Kate have, and the more sort of mumsy she gets, the more people are going to want naughty Harry. So I don't see any respite for him, I really don't. I think people are going to want more of Harry because he's still the bachelor prince.
For a man dedicated to charity and respect and love for his mother, it is equally important that Harry shares this bond with someone who complements his passionate and caring nature. From a blind date to now a family of 4, Harry and Meghan are a worldwide inspirational couple. In 2016, a mutual friend and fashion designer, Misha Nonu, set up Prince Harry and Meghan Markle on a blind date. They kept their relationship a secret for a few months before the press caught a glimpse of it. He was reported as being happier than he's been for many years.
We were introduced actually by a mutual friend, It was literally, it was through her, and then we met once and then twice, back-to-back, 2 dates in London last July.
Yes.
Beginning of July.
So they met through a mutual friend who set them up really on a blind date, and they had their first date at Soho House in London in 2016. And then, of course, you know, with Meghan living and working at the time in Toronto in Canada, where she was filming Suits, and Harry being based in London, they realised they would have to really go out their way to make time for each other very quickly. So within a few weeks of that first date, they were on holiday together in Botswana.
Prince Harry had dated a string, really, of beautiful English socialites. They tended to be blonde and willowy, very great backgrounds, you know, wealthy families, went to the right schools. However, what Meghan brought to the equation was a lot of humanitarian work that Harry's ex-girlfriends just couldn't even touch with a 10-foot pole. Meghan had actually worked for the UN. She'd gone on missions and trips to support women and children in the developing world. Meghan had been a global humanitarian long before she met Prince Harry. And I think as Harry was very close to stepping into his full role as a member of the royal family, the possibility of meeting someone who was equally passionate and engaged about changing the world and helping other people was extremely attractive to Harry. I think if you watch the engagement interview that Harry and Meghan did on BBC, and they talk about their first meeting and how they instantly connected, it's apparent that, yes, there was a mutual attraction, but it went far beyond the physical. Meghan and Harry were attracted to what each other believed in and what each other wanted to do in the world.
The couple made their first appearance together since avoiding the spotlight for so long at the 2017 Invictus Games in Toronto. After months of speculation, their engagement was finally announced in 2017. They dated for 2 years up to this point.
I think Meghan had quite a difficult initial period after their relationship was confirmed, and we know this because Harry issued a statement defending her and sort of warning people off. You know, she described it as disheartening and discriminatory, but Harry himself mentioned sort of racial undertones, which is pretty upsetting for anyone concerned. And I think, you know, it is a difficult situation when you're thrust into the glare of media interest. The royal family garner a huge amount of attention, and you know, we know that they're not necessarily delighted by it, but you know, they work closely with the media to get their messages across. But I think nothing prepared Harry and Meghan for the wave of interest that followed the announcement of their relationship. And in fact, it was Harry's statement that confirmed they were a couple for the first time. I think it's a really difficult one because they are going to have to get used to the scrutiny, but it's only right that she's treated fairly, and I think it was upsetting for everyone to see that she'd been, you know, caused problems by this coverage.
And Buckingham Palace issued a statement saying the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh are delighted for the couple and wish them every happiness.
And the engagement has the approval of her future father-in-law.
No, we're thrilled, thank you very much, to both of them. I hope they'll be very happy indeed.
There's a misconception that because I have worked in the entertainment industry that this would be something I would be familiar with. But even though I'd been on my show for, I guess, 6 years at that point, and working before that, I've never been part of tabloid culture. I've never been in pop culture to that degree, and lived a relatively quiet life, even though I focused so much on my job. And so that was a really stark difference out of the gate. But, and I think we were just hit so hard at the beginning with a lot of mistruths that I made the choice to not read anything, positive or negative. It just didn't make sense, and instead we focused all of our energies just on nurturing our relationship.
On us, yeah.
On us.
There is no doubt that when anybody marries into the royal family, the media immediately start looking into the background and the family of that person. I mean, with Meghan, it was quite easy because she'd been very public on social media and on the internet. She'd spoken about her biracial background, the fact that her ancestors were slaves. She'd spoken extensively about her charity work as well. So we had a really quite graphic picture of the type of woman she was, a feminist, somebody who believed in speaking out about her mixed race background. And I think that all of this actually was positive, in my opinion, because it gave the media a platform which they could base their stories.
Meghan Markle is a California girl. In fact, her dad, Thomas, was in the film industry. He worked on set. And one of Meghan's earliest memories, actually, and what she says inspired her to be an actress, was being on set of the show Married with Children, a show that her dad worked on for years as a lighting director, I believe. Meghan grew up very much, not so much in the industry, but close, kind of on the periphery of show business. I think she got a real taste of it from a very early age. And Meghan was always a natural performer. We've seen videos of her in school plays. We know that she was always kind of gravitating towards the stage and being on stage. Meghan seemed to do really well with the kind of attention and scrutiny that came with being an actress. And there's no doubt that really from an early age, Meghan always kind of stood out from the rest of her peers.
But now that it is all official, Prince Harry, do you have that sense that the combination of the two of you, your different backgrounds, that you together represent something new for the royal family?
I don't know if it's something new. I think it's, you know, for me, it's an added member of the family. It's another team player as part of the bigger team. And, you know, for all of us, all we want to do is be able to carry out the right engagements, carry out our work, and try and encourage others and the younger generation to be able to see the world in the correct sense, rather than perhaps having a distorted view. So, you know, the fact that I fell in love with Meghan so incredibly quickly was sort of confirmation to me that everything, all the stars were aligned, everything was just perfect. It was this beautiful woman just sort of literally tripped and fell into my life. I fell into her life, and the fact that I know the fact that she'll be really unbelievably good at the job part of it as well, is obviously a huge relief to me, because she'll be able to deal with everything else that comes with it. But no, you know, we're a fantastic team. We know we are, and we hope to, you know, over time, try and have as much impact for all the things that we care about as much as possible.
I am very excited about that, yeah.
They then married in 2018 at St. George's Chapel in front of 600 guests and millions of viewers. During his wedding, Harry behaved like Diana. Moments after Meghan Markle walked down the aisle, Harry bit down on his lip and told her that she looks amazing.
Everyone was excited. The crowds were enormous. As you came up that very famous park, it was mobbed. I mean, both sides of where their carriage was going to go was thousands and thousands of people stood back to back, ready to cheer them on. The applause, the cheers as they drove through Windsor were deafening. There was a tremendous amount of love and support for Meghan and Harry on their special day.
Archie Harrison was born in 2019, while they were still senior members of the royal family. They had their second and only daughter, Lilibet, also known as Lily Diana, in June 2021, honouring Harry's late mother, Diana.
In the lead up to the birth, Harry and Meghan both said they didn't want to know the sex. They wanted it to be a surprise, so they had to obviously then choose girl and boy names. Had it been a girl, Diana was very much a favorite name, and I believe it was very likely that Diana would have been the first name, or at least in the middle of that long name. And the reason is, you know, from the beginning, Harry and William both have included their mother whenever possible in their relationship. And I think it grieved them both that she wasn't there when they married. She wasn't there to see her grandchildren. And so I believe with all my heart, Diana is probably in future going to be a girl's name for this pair. In terms of boys' names, there were a lot of names initially floated around. They were all connected with royal tradition, but not typically traditional.
Yes, X marks the spot.
X marks the spot.
The horses in the background.
Nice.
It's already right. Prince Harry, anything news you want to share with us, the world?
Yes, I'm very excited to announce that Meghan and myself had a baby boy.
The baby was born at 5:26 a.m. He was 7 pounds 3 ounces. It's a very good size, actually bigger than Harry was when he was born. And he was born, we believe, at the Portland Hospital. Meghan and Harry have been doing things their own way. They have made a statement, a clear statement, that this baby belongs to them, not the public. In my understanding, this is somewhat unprecedented when there's this much interest and when the royals are determined to keep it to themselves. Harry and William had very different experiences as new fathers. Harry's was a lot more private. But having said that, you know, of course you have to remember William is in a far different position than Harry. William will be king. Harry will never be king. So I think the standards are not the same. The expectation isn't as high. And Harry and Meghan hopefully will be allowed more privacy.
Who does he take after? Does he look like anyone?
We're still trying to figure that out.
Everyone says that babies change so much over 2 weeks. We're basically sort of monitoring how the changing process happens over this next month, really. But his looks are changing every single day.
Yeah.
So who knows?
And how are you finding parenting generally? Is it still a special moment?
Yeah, it's great. I mean, parenting is amazing. It's only been, what, 2.5 days, 3 days?
Yeah.
But we're just so thrilled to have our own little bundle of joy and be able to spend some precious times with him as he slowly starts to grow up.
And I hear you're off to see 2 special people in a minute.
Yes.
The Queen and the Duke.
Yes, and we just bumped into the Duke as we were walking by, which was so nice. So it'll be a nice moment to introduce the baby to more family, and my mom's with us as well. So it's been a really... Here we go.
Another great grandchild.
Yes.
In 2020, they stepped down together as senior members of the royal family and now work to become financially independent whilst continuing to fully support the now late Queen, Queen Elizabeth II. Prince Harry hasn't had a great time with the British press, especially after the death of his mother in 1997, when the paparazzi were chasing his mother down the night that she was killed in a car crash. Both Harry and Diana have been brutally honest to the press. Diana would speak about her struggles with postpartum depression, Charles's affair with Camilla, and her troubled marriage in her famous interview with the BBC.
Here was a situation which hadn't ever happened before in history, in the sense that the media were everywhere, and here was a fairy story that everybody wanted to work. And so it was isolating, but it was also a situation where you couldn't indulge in feeling sorry for yourself. You had to either sink or swim, and you had to learn that very fast.
And what did you do?
I swam.
Harry tells us honestly that his decision to leave was due to lack of understanding and support. He explained his efforts to protect his family from the press, once as a boyfriend, once as a husband, and once as a father. He wanted the British tabloids to remain calm at times when it became overwhelming, but this wasn't to Harry's liking. Following his departure from the royal family, Prince Harry has taken residence in the US with Meghan.
Look, they're clearly very unhappy with the royal existence that they have at the moment and the way that
the way that their public life impinges on them. It's something they clearly want to change, and many people have sympathy with that. It's understandable. The crux of the matter is you can't be half royal. You can be part of the royal machine, you can accept the privileges that go with it, but also take the restrictions and all that, and you live in a sort of bubble, or you can stand back. I mean, the next generation of Dukes of Kent, Dukes of Gloucester, they're private citizens. No one would recognise them in the street. You can go down that route if you want. What you can't do is to be sort of transatlantic royals who drop in, do a bit of royal stuff, but then go off to do this sort of financial independence stuff in LA or Toronto, wherever it is.
I think the whole plan that Harry and Meghan have is a really problematic one, because they're talking about stepping back. Their critics would argue, about having their cake and eat it. They're talking about one day representing the Queen on a foreign tour to another country, on another day, say in North America, earning serious money with some sort of endorsement of some sort of product. The risk is that those two things aren't compatible. The risk is that their pursuit of money will tarnish the Windsor brand and tarnish the House of Windsor. I mean, this is the real problem for the Queen and Prince Charles. They are dealing with this as a grandmother and as a father on the one hand, and they're also dealing with it as the protector of an ancient dynasty. And we have seen that how, as protectors of the ancient dynasty, when they need to, they act brutally, as they did with Prince Andrew when they removed him from public office. There may be a point that at some stage that the Queen, Charles and William believe that what Meghan and Harry are proposing is a threat to the institution of the British monarchy, then they will act.
Unlike working royals, whose wealth typically comes from landholdings under their command, Prince Harry and Meghan earn their money independently to pay for security and raise their children, Archie and Lilibet. Harry later on says that leaving the royal family has allowed him to be able to ride his son on a bicycle, something that he was not able to do under royal scrutiny. The couple have undertaken a public relations blitz, recently appearing in a buzzy primetime interview with Oprah Winfrey that drew millions of viewers. They discussed mental health issues, even addressing one that Meghan tackled about having suicidal thoughts since marrying into the royal family. Some viewers noticed a strong resemblance between this interview and the one that Harry's mother did in 1995. It is clear that Harry sees Meghan as a dedicated woman, just like his mother Diana. Together they make just the perfect team.
I think there is now an allegation of racism hanging over a member or members of the royal family. We don't know who, as we said earlier, not the Queen, not the Duke of Edinburgh, but beyond that, we don't know who. Harry and Meghan wouldn't say. And nor do we know the context in which this remark was made. But we do know, from what we've heard, that both Harry, when he heard it, and Meghan, when it was passed on, took offence to it, and therefore that is an issue for them. And also, I think there's slightly wider questions for us as society. Harry said that he left in part because of racism in the UK. What does that mean for us? Do we need to look at ourselves a bit more? And I think then on the general point for Buckingham Palace, why is it that Meghan was unable to sort of fit in? Why couldn't she get the help she needed when she desperately needed it? Although I should also point out, last week there was that bullying complaint revealed against Meghan that the Human Resources Department had to look into as well. So there's a lot there.
He took on a new job, executive at a Silicon Valley startup. He's since announced that he was to become the Chief Impact Officer of Better Up, which is a mobile coaching, counseling and mentoring company founded in 2013. He's long been open about his personal struggles with grief and mental health issues, and Better Up executives have been attracted to his work prior as a member of the royal family. Together, they founded Archwell Inc., which is a non-profit foundation for change as a first step towards independence. They're focused on their charity work through the Archwell Foundation, with which they support access to education, women's empowerment, and fighting racial injustice. They also founded Archwell Productions, which signed massive media deals with Netflix and Spotify for a series of inspiring documentaries and podcasts reportedly worth around £18 million. They now reside in the US and since 2020 have come back to the UK, attending the Platinum Jubilee National Service of Thanksgiving in June 2022.
They appeared and then they disappeared. And they brought their children, took the children to meet the Queen, had a birthday party, and then went back to California. So I think they made the decision that they would toe the line and they would keep low key. It wasn't about them, it was about the Queen.
Harry's grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, died on September the 8th, 2022. The couple have come back to the UK once again at Balmoral Castle in Scotland, which is where her death was announced. Harry was not able to reach Balmoral until about 8:30 p.m. on Thursday evening, 2 hours after the announcement was made. Both Harry and Meghan are expected to stay in the UK to attend the Queen's funeral, which was held on the 19th of September. He was seen leaving Balmoral and boarded a British Airways flight at Aberdeen International Airport, which departed at 10:20 a.m. He passed flowers that had been laid in tribute to the late monarch.
I very much get the feeling that Harry was on the edge of the family, which of course he was, because he wasn't on the flight with the others when they went to Aberdeen. He came on a later flight, which apparently he had to charter his own plane instead of going on an RAF plane. He then left Balmoral before breakfast, practically, the next morning. He wasn't allowed to wear his military uniform, apart from when he was doing Vigil of Princes. I think he felt very pushed about, because it showed on his face. He looked so unhappy and uncomfortable. So I think that it was a very difficult time for Harry.
Many members of the royal family appeared in their uniform. Harry, no longer a working royal, was not required to wear a uniform. Harry and Meghan's involvement in the funeral has quite provoked speculation among reporters that it may be the first time they are reunited with the royal family after several disastrous years. Some reports focused on the fact that Harry was the last royal to arrive at Balmoral and the first to leave London. Meghan meaningfully wore earrings that were given to her by the Queen. The diamonds and pearls are favoured by members of the royal family for occasions of mourning, as the colourless stones have a quiet elegance. Photographers outside of Westminster Abbey caught a tear that fell from Meghan's eye as she stood in a gathering of the royal family members.
During this period of the funeral, of course, they never expected to be in the country for so long. They never expected the Queen to die. But I think there's been so many rumours swirling around about what has and hasn't happened, and the arguments, and why were they amongst the crowd with William and Catherine, and were they intending to have it filmed for Netflix? Were they not? Did Meghan have a microphone? Did she not? I mean, we're never going to know. There were so many rumours swirling around, and Harry remained impassive and stony-faced the entire time. I mean, he really did. Meghan managed to squeeze out a tear, and then, of course, because this is the world we live in now, then on Twitter, they found some footage of Meghan as an actress talking about, oh, left eye, Meghan. She says, out comes the tear. And of course, it was her left eye with the tear. So everything she does, she gets found out. I don't know why she carries on. But I do feel they're very happy in California. And I do think it's what Harry wanted. He didn't want to live here. He spoke a long time ago about he wished he wasn't a prince. I think he has a very low opinion of the whole monarchy and how it's structured. And maybe he doesn't understand how it's structured. He appears not to. But I do think he's much, much happier in his Californian life. I think he's blissfully happy. He's obviously mad about Meghan and his children, which is as it should be. And I think it's for the best.
King Charles appeared to reach out to the couple, saying, "I want to express my love for Harry and Meghan as they continue to build their lives overseas." They are still loved by members of the royal family and will still continue to hold them dear to heart. The death of the Queen means that their children, Archie and Lilibet, are now a prince and princess.
I think that Harry and Meghan said they wanted a private life. If you want a private life, you don't speak out in public. And what they want to do is they want to change the world. They want to talk about their feelings and how they can help the world, or how they think they can help the world. So it's a mismatch before it's even started. I think they're at odds with themselves and at odds with what they wanted to be, but I'm sure that they will sort it out, because I think they have to sort it out. But really, I think it's easier for them to sort it out away from the rest of the family, which is what Charles was saying in his address. They have his blessing, and he will help them any way he can, but they need to have their own life away from the royal family. So there probably is no real reason for them to come back immediately, apart from the coronation, where they will want to have a presence because they'll need it for their money-making abilities. So it's a bit of a catch-22 situation that they're in. It's very, very difficult to say what the future holds for them, but I'm absolutely certain they'll continue to live in California, and they'll bring their children up in California. And it's a beautiful life. It's a wonderful life that they have, but they've got to keep working to keep up their lifestyle. So, and their working means they need the stardust of royalty sprinkled on them. That is going to be their problem.
Harry and Meghan, is a story now on its own, and I don't think anybody knows where the Harry and Meghan story will end up. I just hope it ends up happily for both of them.
Prince Harry's highly anticipated book, titled Spare, has been given a release date of the 10th of January 2023. The book was originally due to be published in October, but has been pushed back following the death of the late Queen on the 8th of September 2022. This book is dedicated to explore Prince Harry's life in great detail. It is said to give us a heartfelt and intimate first-hand account of the experiences, adventures, losses, and life lessons that have helped shape him over the years. It is said that the more deeply personal account will touch on Harry's decision to step down as a senior royal in 2020 and his decision to move to Southern California with his wife. The book is perfect for those who would like to know what life was really like for Prince Harry growing up within the royal household. It'll focus on his journey from trauma to healing, and one about the power of love, referencing to his wife Meghan. He may also dissect his relationship with Prince William after the brothers had a falling out back in 2018. Rumours of drama emerged after Prince Harry claimed that William was not doing enough to welcome Meghan into the royal family. The proceeds from this book will be donated to two charities: Well Child, a charity for children with complex medical needs, and Sentebale, another charity Prince Harry co-founded in honour of his late mother Diana. Taking from his mother's lessons of honesty, of bravery, of love and affection, Prince Harry has become a man who complements his mother. He has made a life which he wanted for himself, as opposed to a life the public wanted for him. His mother's lifelong commitment to helping the world around her, his mother's willingness to be free, has shaped Harry to becoming free. A bridge over troubled water.